folks, how you doing? It's Captain Croll, Captain Croll's Movie Reviews. Today, I'm going to be looking back in a retro review of the classic 1976 picture, Rocky, starring Sylvester Stallone as the iconic character Rocky Balboa. This movie would spawn 6 Rocky movies, 2 Creed movies, and there's currently a 3rd Creed movie in the works. So over 42 years of Rocky. Awesome. One of my favorite franchises and one of my favorite movies of all time. So let's dive right into it. So Rocky was created by none other than Sylvester Stallone in the early 1970s. Stallone was a young actor who was struggling financially and struggling to make his way in the movie industry. And he basically went out to see a fight one night with Chuck Wepner, a legendary fighter, but he was also an underdog. And Chuck Wepner surprised everybody in this boxing match and inspired Sylvester Stallone to start creating the character of Rocky Balboa. Now, Sylvester Stallone put a pen to paper and he wrote the entire story, the entire screenplay, and he created all of the characters. Rocky Balboa, his love interest Adrian, his best friend Paulie, heavyweight champion of the world Apollo Creed, Mickey Goldmill. He created everything. And it really launched this, what I call the Rocky Saga into fruition here. So the interesting story is actually more behind the scenes of creating the movie, was that he basically made an agreement that he wanted to portray Rocky Balboa. Nobody else could portray him but him. Now, the movie studios that he approached with the screenplay didn't like that idea. They didn't want him, an unknown actor, playing this character, Rocky Balboa. They actually had Burt Reynolds interested, Robert Redford in mind, and even, I believe, James Caan. There was a number of famous actors they had eyed out for this role. But Stallone wouldn't budge. At the same time, he's got like $100 in his bank account and he is struggling. He actually had to sell his dog for basically grocery money or rent money, etc. He would later get his dog back when he became famous and paid 10 times the price, but good news of that story is he got his dog back. So Stallone basically stuck to his guns, would not sell the screenplay without him starring in the role. Luckily, MGM Studios and a director by the name of John J. Avildsen agreed to it, and Rocky was born. Rocky was filmed over a very meager 30 days, approximately 1 month, essentially, and it was shot on a shoestring budget, and they had to make a lot of things work, and they shot on the fly, like literally. Apparently there's something to do with the unions. They'd be very careful because the way they were filming it, that they weren't allowed to use certain locations, I believe, or something to do with the unions. In any event, they would literally drive around in a van, find a spot where nobody else was around, stop the van, jump out with a camera, and Rocky would start running, essentially. Or Sylvester Stallone would start running as Rocky. So it's kind of cool how they shot it that way. And again, they shot it in a very short time frame. So when they made this movie, they shot on location in Philadelphia where it was set, and they used some iconic settings. And one is the Philadelphia Art Museum steps. Again, this place is now known as officially the Rocky Steps. Every year, thousands of people upon thousands go there. I would like to go there someday, and they take the opportunity to run up the famous steps to basically celebrate life. So this movie means a lot more than just boxing. It's inspiring to many, many people from many different backgrounds. You don't have to be a boxer to enjoy this movie. You just have to understand this movie is about the average person who can strive to be something better. So that's kind of the backdrop of the filming. This movie, once it was completed, would go on to win the Best Picture of 1976 at the Oscars. So it's amazing how this movie was made in the first place, and Stallone became a household name immediately after this movie. So let's dive right into the movie that Sylvester Stallone wrote and created, because it's really cool, I think. So let's talk about Rocky Balboa. Rocky Balboa came from the mean streets of Philadelphia. He's a tough guy. He's an amateur boxer. He collects debts for loan sharks to get by financially. He's in his late 20s at this time. His boxing career has gone by. He doesn't expect to become a professional boxer by any means at this point in time. He used to train at Mighty Mix Boxing Gym under the tutelage of Mickey Goldmill, an elderly boxing trainer who used to be a boxer in his prime as well. At this point in the movie, Mickey and Rocky have a pretty rocky relationship, excuse the pun. Mickey believes that Rocky has wasted his life working for these loan sharks. He doesn't take boxing seriously anymore, and Mickey's moved on with trying to train other contenders at this point. As a matter of fact, in the movie, he actually evicts Rocky from his locker in the training gym and gives it to another contender. And Rocky and Mickey have a verbal exchange in the middle of the gym in front of all the other boxers. And Mickey basically point blank tells him that he's wasting his life away, and Mickey's got to work on other things. So they have a rocky relationship. At the same time, Rocky is in love with a woman by the name of Adrian. She's a very shy, timid girl. She's portrayed by actress Talia Shire, who does a fantastic job in this movie as well as the rest of the movies. She was in The Godfather prior to this movie. And she works in the pet shop located directly across the street from Mighty Mick's gym. And you can see Rocky going over there after and trying to talk to her, and she's very shy. And you can see they both have a thing for each other, but they're both awkward and shy. And that's kind of cool. That's original. It's fresh. It's good. He's also friends with her brother, Paulie. They're best friends, portrayed by actor Burt Young, who delivers a great performance as just an everyday guy as well. And that works well in the movie. So basically, that's kind of the setting of the movie. It takes place in Philadelphia. And along comes heavyweight champion of the world, Apollo Creed, portrayed by actor Carl Weathers, who gives a great performance as Apollo Creed in this as well. And Apollo Creed's coming to Philadelphia in 1976 to celebrate the America's bicentennial, and he's putting on a huge, huge fight in front of the whole world with the #1 contender. Well, weeks and weeks before the fight's going to take place, the contender's injured. He drops right out of it. So Apollo now has to find another person to replace him. None of the #1 contenders want to fight Apollo. It's too short of a time frame to train, and they just don't feel they'll be ready. Nobody will accept his challenge. So frustrated at the point this fight's going to go nowhere, Apollo Creed actually comes up with the idea, why don't we pick a random amateur fighter, local boy, from the streets of Philadelphia and give him a 1 in a million chance, once in a lifetime chance of fighting me in the ring. So they go through hundreds of names, and Apollo Creed's drawn to one particular nickname, the Italian Stallion. He just loves that name. It actually says his nickname, which is a Master Disaster. Wouldn't it be cool to see the Master Disaster versus the Italian Stallion? It sounds like a monster movie. So that really resonates with Apollo, and he's determined that he wants Rocky Balboa in the ring with him. And nobody in the room's even heard of Rocky Balboa at this point. So Rocky's former trainer Mickey approaches Rocky and says, "Look, they're looking to speak to you." And Rocky has no idea. He just thinks it's for sparring. So he said, "Well, this is good. I'll go down there and make some money sparring with Apollo Creed." So he walks in there, and they right away call him Mr. Balboa, and he's kind of, why are they referring to me in that fashion? And they basically drop the offer that Apollo Creed wants to fight you in front of the whole world. And Rocky's first instinct is, no, I'm not your guy for this. I'm not the right fit. And Rocky goes home to think about it. At the same time, he's developing his relationship with Adrian, which is really the heart and soul of this entire movie, that relationship. It's slowly progressing. He's finally able to take her on a date. And to me, it's really cool. They go to a skating rink where he has to pay a guy under the, out of pocket there just to use the rink for the two of them. And they're both skating around this rink, and they're both not very good skaters by any means. And he's just holding her up, and you see this date progress, and it's really cool. Like, she starts to open up more, and he lets his guard down too. So that's kind of the heart and soul of this relationship. Now let's get into the big fight. The training montage is super cool, I think. And you see his self-confidence really start to build up through the training as he mounts those rocky steps, as he climbs those rocky steps. And that's where the real magic of this movie is, seeing him progress that way. The night before the fight, he decides to go to the arena to check it out and walks into that arena, and he notices right off the get-go that the shorts don't match the color that he's going to be wearing in that fight. At the same time, the promoter just happens to be there, and he points it out to the promoter, and the promoter looks at him and says, "It really doesn't matter, does it? I'm sure you'll give everybody a good fight." At that point in time, you see that Rocky realizes nobody truly believes in him. Nobody thinks he has a chance at winning this fight. And I think that resonates with anybody in this world, where you build yourself up, you finally get up there, and then you're pushed right back down again. And he just feels at the bottom again. And Adrian ends up consoling him. You see that she truly believes in him. And that's all that matters. Now let's get into the fight. The fight scene's really cool. It's at the arena. Again, Rocky walks in there. He's very, shy. Walks in there. And of course, the larger-than-life Apollo Creed walks in with his entourage. The fight begins. Now, you've got to see the fight. I'm not going to give anything truly away if you've never seen Rocky. But as the fight progresses, Rocky's getting knocked down, and there's something that switches in him. Just like a flick of a switch. Where all of a sudden he decides, you know what? I'm not giving up. I'm going to keep fighting this through. At one point in the movie, you see him get knocked down by Apollo Creed. Apollo Creed believes he's won. He's actually got his hands up in the air, arms up in the air. And Mickey cares more about Rocky at that time. That Mickey wants him just to stay down. Rocky refuses, gets up, re-challenges the fight, and that's kind of the turn of the fight. Now Rocky starts delivering brutal punches. He's not giving up. He's not going down no matter what, and it becomes like a true street fight in that ring. And nobody's ever been able to fight Apollo Creed this way. So this is like 1 in a million chance this is happening. And at the end of the fight, they fight so well, it comes out to a tie. And I like that. Rocky didn't win the fight. The tie automatically goes to champion, so it goes to Apollo. But the thing is, he doesn't care. He's yelling out Adrian's name. Adrian jumps in the ring. He looks at Adrian and says, "Where's your hat?" And the first thing she says is, "I love you." And he looks at her and says, "I love you." And that's the first time they've said that to each other, and they embrace. And there's 1,000 reporters around him. They're trying to interview him. He doesn't care. All he cares about is Adrian. That's the magic of this movie. It really wasn't necessarily about boxing. It was about their relationship, which would resonate in the other Rocky movies to come forward. The ending of Rocky is truly amazing. Again, just embracing Adrian, that's how it ends. I don't know if they knew that there would be a number of sequels to come out from this movie, but this movie definitely is the heartbeat of the Rocky saga. It's one of the best movies ever made. It's truly underrated, even though it won an Oscar. If you haven't seen Rocky, take the time to see it. It stands the test of time. Yes, it takes place in the 70s, but it also could take place now in this day and age. It also is an inspiration for many, many movies to come forward as the true underdog movie, whether it be the movie Rudy, The Karate Kid, who's actually directed by the same director who did Rocky, or many other sports movies where there's an underdog in the world, and you see them rise up and prove their worth. This truly is one of the best movies, one of my favorite movies of all time. It spawned the Rocky saga, which will continue to develop the character Rocky Balboa throughout the series. And I'll conduct other Rocky reviews as well of the Rocky movies, as well as the 2 Creed movies. There's also an upcoming Creed 3 coming out, which I'm pretty excited about. And yeah, I tell you, it's a movie that needs to be seen. And it resonates with anybody, whether you're a boxer or not a boxer. It doesn't matter. It truly is just the spirit of man. And to show you, no matter how people push you down or don't believe in you, if you believe in yourself, you can do anything. This movie stands the test of time. It's one of my favorite all-time movies. I could talk about this movie for hours, but I'm going to wrap it up. Out of 10 out of 10, I give Rocky an 11 out of 10. It's one of the best movies ever made, and it deserves to win an Oscar. And I'm glad it did. And again, I'll talk about other Rocky movies after this, but yeah, Rocky truly has the eye of the tiger. You got to see the movie to believe it. So thumbs up all the way up, 11 out of 10 for Rocky. If you tell me what you think of Rocky, if it inspired you in your life, because it inspired me, leave it in the comments below, and feel free to subscribe to my channel. Take care. See ya.